Hi everyone, so here we are taking a look at Battlefleet Gothic Armada, based on the Warhammer 40k universe of the same name. Now, Battlefleet is a very old game system from Games Workshop. It goes back to probably around the 90s if memory serves, and this is really 40k in space. It deals with the ships of the line that would normally be hovering around the planets where you're fighting on the ground with your Space Marines, your Eldar and your Imperial Guard and so on. Now, the races they've chosen here are pretty much the core of what makes the 40k universe, up to a point which I'll talk about in a moment. Now, so far we have the Chaos faction, the Imperial faction, and the Orc faction was just added yesterday. Now, I've actually been sent this game for free by the guys at Focus Interactive. They've sent over the early access version of the game so far, which includes the skirmish modes, the multiplayer mode, and a couple of missions from the campaign. Now, please do excuse some of the footage here. It was captured before they solved a little stuttery bug that would present itself sometimes when you were zoomed into the ship. It would cause a slight scrolling effect. That's actually now been fixed in the patch that was released yesterday, which is fantastic, by the way. They've added that Orc faction. Now, one of the things just to talk about here really is what they're planning post-launch, as it were. Now, what you may notice is the Space Marine faction is currently missing. That is going to be added just, well, around launch by the looks of it, or just after, for anybody that pre-orders. Now, what they've also announced yesterday is that the great gods at Focus Interactive have given them permission to develop yet another race, a race they're going to keep secret. So, not too sure who that race is going to be, but that is going to be made available as well as an additional bonus to anyone that buys the game. So, from a development point of view and a value for money point of view, we are going to get some new goodies out of this that if you pre-order before launch you will get as well, really filling out the roster, as it were. Now, what is Battlefleet Gothic Armada all about? Well, it's about ships of the line. It's about multi-kilometre long big ass ships with lots and lots of guns blasting the crap out of each other. If you want a real-world analogy, as it were, it's really like Black Flag, but done as a real-time strategy game. So if you were to take old-school ships with cannons and masts, and instead say, right, let's go and do that in space, that's pretty much what we would have here. Now, it is a real-time strategy game, so it takes a kind of a top-down view, as it were, although you can rotate the camera so you can get better views and looks of the ships and the fight as it's going on. Now, how the gameplay actually works is very much a case of learning and understanding how your ship and ships of the line function, as well as the upgrades you've given them and what that means for the fight itself. Certain ships work better at close range, certain ships work better at longer range, or are too weak to go in close and so have to keep their distance. Certain ships will have upgrades that will allow them to decimate your opponent's shields or transfer additional troops in a boarding party on board. There are all sorts of additional tweaks here that really change up the meta of the game during the fight. Now, one of the things that I found really interesting is how the single-player campaign that I've seen so far has this real homeworld story vibe going on. Not so much in the we're the last of our fleet trying to escape to a new planet, but in the way the dialogue is delivered, in the kind of gravitas this world is being given. It does feel edge of your seats kind of stuff, like we are the last line of defence, as it were. We're going to have to build this armada and we're going to have to take it to the Chaos Fleet and win. Some of the dialogue comes off a little bit hammy at times, but if you know anything about the 40k universe and Games Workshop in general, you'll know that the fluffiness is always a little bit hammy. That kind of goes with the territory, although I hope the developers will tweak some of the dialogue delivery. Some of it just feels like it's a little bit like multiple lines or words stitched together, rather than feeling necessarily like it's flowing as a nice piece of dialogue. These are things that we always see at this early stage in a game, so I'm not too concerned there. What I do find is that coming away from the game, it has left me with this real feel that they've got something quite special here. If that single-player campaign can hold up that kind of story and the gravitas that goes along with it, I think they may very well have a bit of a winner here. It certainly felt good enough to me. Now, like I say, I've not played the final game yet. I will be having that made available to me by the developers around a couple of weeks before the game finally launches in April. So I won't be able to tell you anything about the campaign or any of the additional stuff that they've launched outside of the early access, not until the official launch day. I'm under embargo. But certainly what I've seen so far gives me great confidence the developers have come up with a bit of a winner here. If you really like strategy games, and if you like the 40k universe as well, this is going to be one of those ones I think to take a look at. Certainly in its early access form, the skirmish mode, which allows you to play through multiple skirmishes whilst levelling up your fleet, taking on harder and harder challenges, taking bigger fleets into the fight, is really compelling, and you find yourself going, I'll just have one more game. The multiplayer component does provide a real challenge. There are some players out there who really do know how to play this game well and will trash you. But at the end of the day, even if you lose a match, you still earn renown, which you can use to level up your ships. And maybe, just maybe, you'll come out on top next time.